I'm really excited about this. Okay, so here we go. This is the mask that we made on Wednesday, and I kept it covered lightly with plastic so that it would come to a nice, this is a medium to hard leather hard state. Perfect for the next step. And there's really only 2 steps for finishing. I'm going to lay it down on this piece of foam, and you can get your foam. If you need to get some foam, the way to do it is actually quite simple. You know when you're driving along and you see some free couch on the side of the road? Or, you know, in Davis, I don't know if this happens in Fairfield or Vacaville, but in
It
Davis.
happens in California a lot. Dixon a lot.
In Dixon a lot, right. People put their anything they don't want, they put it out on the sidewalk with a sign that says free. So, and when school is out at the end of the year, you can furnish 20 apartments if you want. So anyway, I stop by when I see a couch that doesn't look too dangerous, and I just take the cushions. And that's what this is. We just tear the covering off. And you can see that keeps us covered with, giving us plenty of pads. So now what I want to do is I want to get a little bit more of a little more coverage right in here, so that I can hang it safely and securely. This is actually pretty good. I could really stop here, but I could also just go out about an inch. And what I'm talking about here is right here. If you see, I want to bring this undercut here in a little bit of an inch, and then anywhere where it's kind of folded, I might just add a little clay to even that out, and you'll see me do that now. So I'm going to take this. I don't know if you can see me do that. Let's see if I can do something like this. There we go, that might help. So you want to get the newspaper out of the way, and I'll be able to scrape that out of the way. And I've got a little extra clay here, and I just need some strips. So I'm going to throw out a slab. And remember, when you throw a slab, you're aiming for the middle, right? For the middle of this slab. If you hit the middle and wipe the table with it, it will stretch out beautifully for you. Got maybe one more that I could do. That's good. I'm going to roll on that a little bit. Any questions about this mask making process come to mind? You do remember that you can work smaller than this. This is a 25-pound bag of clay. You may very well want to work a little bit smaller than that. So I'm just going to start by clearing off the newspaper. Sometimes when it gets soft enough or hard enough, I can pull the newspaper out, but I don't have to, because in the kiln, again, you heard me talking about bisque firing being at 1860 degrees. What temperature does paper burn? Anybody know? Any science fiction fans? What's that? 451. Fahrenheit 451. Ray Bradbury novel about fascist governments burning books. That sounds too familiar, doesn't it? So, I'm going to look around first for little areas where there's little creases and things where I folded the clay, and I'm just going to score that wherever that is. I could also start by compressing and wiping it, but I think the best is to just score it up. Remember, I can never trap air. I do not want to trap air. And this is not, it's easy to make a very even, smooth bottom here. I'm not worried about sculpting any features. I might want to take the time. I'm going to do three things here. One is, maybe four things. I'm going to smooth it out. I'm going to add a little extra clay to make these ridges just a little thicker. Just a little thicker. And then I am going to put holes on both sides so that I can later run wire cable, a 1/16 inch wire cable that will be the hanging cord for this. And then it'll hang nicely on the wall. And as you know, a good sculptural mask will keep the evil spirits away. That's the whole thing right there. So initially here, I'm just going to take a little bit of clay and I'm going to just fill in any of this area. And I want to smooth it out a little bit. Looking good. And as we discussed during the mask demonstration, really take the opportunity when you're making your mask to explore. You start with a fairly traditional approach to slab building, but pretty rapidly you're starting to add clay and dig holes in the piece, and maybe you add some porcelain teeth as Jason did, or you know, there's all kinds of things you can do. And as you do that, you're really becoming closer to a ceramic artist who has more fluidity, because you're learning techniques. You're going to learn coil building next. After our next big project is coil building, so you're going to learn that. But as you learn slab building, coil building, pinch pots, all those things, what you start to realize is that they can mix and match, and you can actually do other things as well. I don't know what you would call what I'm doing now. I'm filling. Maybe it's a little additive sculpture activity here. Maybe that's what I'm doing. But what I'm saying is that you don't want to experience sort of a hardening of the categories. Oh, I'm coil building or I'm slab building. If you know, whatever your vision requires, that's what you're doing next. Does that make sense? Full range of freedom of activity here. So I'm just laying in wherever I think there might be a little bit of a hole or something that looks a little thin, just to strengthen this up a little bit. And then to smooth it out, it's not really too complicated. I'm just going to roll it. And now I'm going to do what I really came here to do, which is put in these side panels here. So I need to score all the way down here. And you can see when I score, I'm not shy. I really get lots and lots of scratches. So there's a couple things, when you're scoring and slipping, this is one of the things you need to know. Lots and lots and lots of scoring, and then just as important, if you're going to score like this, which you are, then you need to be just as vigorous with slip, because the scoring makes it easier to join for a number of reasons, but primarily what you've just done is you've quadrupled the surface area. You went from a flat surface area to this. So you've really created a lot more surface area. And then when we put the slip on, we're making those kind of raised ridges softer. Everything's softer. But the other thing, and the most important thing when you're slipping like this, is you're getting any air out. You can't trap air. Have I gone into detail why you cannot trap air? You heard about that? The steam, you all remember that? Anybody not remember that? Who can tell me why you cannot trap air? I can't hear. Pretty much, that Lucy's got it very closely. As you begin to fire the piece and it heats up, the water that's in the clay has to express itself. It has to come out. And even if you fire slowly, it will come out to the edges. But it doesn't know the difference between the outside of the piece and the surface of a bubble, an air bubble. So if the water expresses into an air bubble, it fills up with water, and then when you pass 212 degrees, what happens? Water turns to steam. It goes from a liquid state to a gas state. And then, just a basic fact of nature, water, if water is X, gas, in terms of size of water, the volume of water, if water is X, gas is 1,500 times X. So the gas goes from this little drop of water to this big. And it does it instantly. So the definition of something that changes state from this big to this big instantly is an explosion. So it'll tear your piece apart. The good news is it'll only destroy your piece. It won't really hurt. The only way it'll hurt somebody else's piece is if that piece is stacked on your piece in the kiln, and then it falls. It could break then. So that's good news. So you don't feel bad that you've hurt somebody else's work. I know that would be your top concern. So fear not. So you see what I've done is I've scored and slipped, and now I'm compressing the clay. And you see I've got a little thicker, and it's a nice even surface here. And with this pounding, I'm really compressing it. And then I'll use my rolling pin. I could use a paddle. I'll use a rolling pin in this case. And I'm just gonna even it out and flatten it out, because there's gonna be a wall, right? This is gonna hang on a wall. So now I know that it's gonna hit the wall unless the wall isn't flat, which some aren't. Any questions, comments? Right. I started talking about this. What happens with all the paper? Well, paper, as we learned, burns at 451 degrees. Fahrenheit 451. Thank you, Ray Bradbury. So at that temperature, that's a very low temperature, this firing that we'll do first with it goes to 1860 degrees. So what that means is that the paper's just going to burn up, and all you'll see left here is ash. The only slight problem is that there's a little bit of smoke that comes out of the kiln, and smoke is not no one's really glad to see smoke anymore. Well, ever really, but okay. So this is done with one more step. So if we're going to hang this, there might be two more steps. I'm just trying to make this a little bit more even. There we go. So there we go. So if we're going to hang this on the wall now, we need a place to put the wires. And that's easy enough. You don't want it right in the middle. You want it a little higher so that it will hang, it'll hang on the wall. If you put it in the middle, it could lean forward. So the wire will be a little higher than this. And I always put 2 in case one cracks. And if I have 2 and they haven't cracked, I will use them both. And then I put 2 more immediately across from it. And when you make holes, you want to give yourself almost an inch between the hole and any edge, and definitely an inch between the 2 holes. And that'll be the strongest option there. So that's ready. A couple more things to do. I keep saying just one more thing, but I'm really not telling the truth there. You got to sign your work. So since this is a big surface, I can put my whole last name. And you can put the date if you want. Site, news event. Before I flip it over, just because we are people who are quite precise, I'll take a moment and I'll review the outside of this piece, because I have access to the very bottom now. So just this edge where it turns, I can just get rid of any inconsistencies that I don't like. And especially the back of the ears might need a little bit of smoothing and sculpting. So I'm just going to go around and just using this wonderful tool that Krista Assad taught me about. You just take your steel rib and cut it in half with the scissors. And it's a beautiful sculpting tool. Good for finishing, shaping. So I'm just worrying about the back side of the ear, the part that I will not be able to have access to once I flip it back over. And I'm going around and just checking what's the condition of the form where it turns. Again, the part that will be hard to reach once I have flipped it over. Just going around and sculpting that a bit. And there's a term that I use in sculpture called fully considered. Fully considered. And that means when you're making something, stay with it. No compromise. As you're working through a piece, you want to follow it through and just, dot the I's, cross the T's. Really make sure that you've addressed every formal aspect, that you've looked at every square inch of the piece and you have addressed it. And we talked about that a little bit with our ravioli pots, how you take some time when it gets leather hard and you really go over the entire piece. So here is the back side of the ear again. Just cleaning it up on the parts that are not reachable once I flip it over. Okay, so that I've done everything I need to do here. I've filled in any crevices and gaps, and then I've increased the thickness of the sides. I put in my hanging holes, and now I'm going to take it now and flip it back over actually want to flip it onto a flat board again, which of course is easy. And there's our mask now, and the flat board is going to ensure that that clay that I just put on it is going to stay nice and flat. And then my last step, and I won't do all of it now, but I'll just kind of show you what it looks like. My last step is to take something to look over the piece and to clear up any inconsistencies, because when it gets this leather hard, it's really easy to start shaping and scraping. So if I want this to be one smooth form, one curving kind of convex shape down here, I can get rid of any little bumps, any little finger marks, and take those out. I can firm up, I can clarify the line of the mouth. This is a great tool for any kind of crevices like a mouth, because you put it in the middle, and remember, there isn't a line here. This isn't a line of the mouth. It's where two forms are coming together, where the two lips are pressing together. So when I put this tool in here, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm making a line. I'm thinking, oh, I bend it this way, and I shape that lip. And then I bend it this way, and I shape that lip. And it really adds a lot of clarity. I'll do this. So I'll do this over 100% of this mask. I will go over this entire mask and make sure that everything I want to be a certain shape or form, kind of having this form, I want this part of the chin to create a line meeting this part under the lip here. And so I will take the time. This is pretty clear already, but I'll just go over it one more time and make sure, like for instance, this line is a little uneven, but I can make that just razor sharp, like just a straight old, really beautiful straight line right up to it. And I'll spend a little more time on that mouth. I'll go over this, like here, this kind of abstract arch of nose turning into brow. It's looking really good, but there is some finger marks here that are just barely perceivable. Well, when you're fully considering a work of art, you want to really bring that into clarity. You want to snap that right into a beautiful finish, and even, in this case, concave form. And then again, this ridge, I'm going to be able to turn that into a really clear, sharp ridge by doing this. So I'll go over the whole piece. You needn't watch all that, but you get the idea. Once I'm done with that, the piece is done and it's ready to wait and to dry for bisque firing. Any questions? Comments? Personal things about your life no one knows that you'd like to share for the camera? Any? No? Okay. Thanks, guys. You can get to work on your own things, and I'm going to go. Oh, you can't. I lied. But we're done here.